Lovely. Well, thanks, Sue, and thanks for the nice introduction. And yeah, it's really lovely to be back here. And I'm recognising there's lots of new names that I don't remember seeing, but also lots of names that I do remember seeing, and people who I had a follow-up session with last time as well. So thank you for coming along again. I'm just going to share my screen so you can see my lovely slides. There we are. Everybody see all that okay? Should be able to. Just a quick yes from would be helpful, just in the chat would be useful. See my slides right? Yeah, so thumbs up. Perfect, perfect. Right. So yeah, thanks for having me back. Those of you who don't know me, just briefly who I am, what I do. So I describe myself as a hybrid coach, and I was going to use the same joke as I usually do, but because some of you have seen it already, it's not quite as funny. But so she says, laughing away. What I mean by hybrid is not half petrol, half electric. I mean, I merge the worlds of coaching and therapy. So as an executive coach, I work mainly with senior directors in organizations, and my approach is very much a mix of probably going deeper than some coaches go. So it's something that you might see in the therapy room. The emotional resilience session that we ran before is quite a good example of that. But also that you might not see in the therapy room that you see in the coaching room is very much more about forward focused, goal orientated, action orientated, practical. How do I make this work? So it's a real merge. So that's kind of where I put myself as an executive coach. My background is mainly corporate. So before I ran my own business, I worked in Tesco for most of my career, and then I've been running my own business for the last 10 years. As I said, mainly corporate, but what's been brilliant in the last 5 years, and I kind of wish I'd done it sooner, but I've been really fortunate to be able to work a lot more in sport. And so it's a real joy and a delight to kind of be here and support Sue with the women's sport, Sue and Kate with the Women's Sport Collective, because I've had a blast working in sport, whether that's with UK sport or whether that's with some specific sporting organisations like the British Equestrian Olympic team, the support team behind the athletes. Yeah, I've loved all of that. So it's a real joy to be here. So thank you for having me. Interestingly, whilst I work with senior directors, but I also work with other people as well. But my main body of work is around helping people who are at a bit of a career crossroads. So I'm a bit stuck in my career. I don't know where to go. That's often why they come to me, or they want to get promoted, or they've just been promoted and they've got a little bit of imposter syndrome and they need some sort of help around getting back into their role. Or an organisation might come to me and say, I've got someone who's got huge potential, but something's holding them back. Can you help them out? And whilst we might start talking about our careers, it's never just about a career that we talk about. And some of the things that come up are some of the stuff around emotional resilience. But what we're going to talk about today is the other aspect that comes up quite a lot for me is almost like that kind of, who on earth am I? Who am I? I've kind of lived my life a little bit in default and ended up in this job. And I've woken up one day going, I don't think I'm happy. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I do. There must be more to me, to life than this. And you sort of lost touch with who you are. And this whole session is very much about, as my initial slide says, is looking at and understanding and really valuing who you are, because I think we lose sight of that for lots of different reasons, whether it's because kids or we're caught up in our job, but we lose sight of who we are. So this is about helping us reconnect with that. And this is kind of this is the first time I've put a lot of this stuff together in an hour session. It's usually what I go through in my coaching programs with people. I've also run this on programs like women and leadership programs to help build confidence in people. And the session, also I'm just going to do a cheeky plug. I'm writing a book, Sue. I didn't think I told you this. I'm writing a book and it's called Leap: How to Be You and Find a Career Love. And how to be more you. I need to remember the title better. But this is also a lot of the content that's in that book. So I'd be really interested to hear what people think about it. So the session's in two parts. The first part is looking at why we might have got to this point in terms of how we lose sight of who we are and our uniqueness and what's great about us. And then I've got 3 practical activities that you can do to help you get back in touch with who you are, what your strengths are, you at your best, all that kind of stuff. So I hope that all makes sense. And the other thing is, if you've got questions, I have a habit of trying to answer everybody's questions, which usually takes me off track, but they're always such interesting questions. Please do ask questions that you have when you have them. I'll manage myself and answer as many as I can. They're all usually very important and I want to answer them all. If I don't answer a question and we have time at the end, nudge it again at the end. But what we also have is a fail safe in that with Sue and Kate recording the session, they also record the chat. So I promise you I will go back through the chat and come back to every single one of you who asked a question who I didn't get to answer in this hour. So with all of that, let me move on to my first slide, and I need to move all my things around so I can see it properly. So, you know, there's quite a lot of you on the session today, and that's brilliant. And I'm just interested, you know, what brought you here today? You know, what does being more you look like? You know, when you sort of say, I want to be myself more, if these are some of the things that you say to yourself, what do you mean by that? What do you want to stop doing? What do you want to start doing? And just in the chat, it would just be interested, you know, when you're thinking about coming here today, what does it mean to be more you? What does it mean to be, I want to be more myself? Tell me a little bit about, you know, what do you want to stop doing? What do you want to start doing? Chuck it out in the chat. I'm hoping people are typing. Aha. Lindsay, oh, thanks, Lindsay. Hello. Sometimes I do more of what people want me to do than what I want to do. Yeah, definitely. Focus very much on other people, feeling comfortable in my own skin, regardless of judgment. Yeah, thanks for answering this, because I realise it's a big question, isn't it? Stop judging myself. Yeah, relax, I can be me. Stop responding with emotion. Yeah, time management. Look at all of this coming through now. There's me panicking. Oh my God, I'm not getting any more. Stop apologise. My goodness, that is Kim. Thank you so much for saying that. I think that's a lot of us do that. Apologise almost for our own existence sometimes, don't we? Want to stop impacting on my career. Make decisions. Say no. Give my honest opinion. Stop being negative. Wow, this is this is really helpful. There's a lot there in there that we want to stop doing to ourselves. A lot of it about, wow, yeah, nice points around actually not saying yes to everything for everybody, putting everyone else first, trusting me. Oh, I love that, Beth. Trust my instinct and go with it. Stop saying I think. These are, I bet, I mean, it's probably quite reassuring for everybody reading that, going, oh my God, I thought it was just me who thought thoughts like that. But it's not, you know, those those resonate with me. I think they probably resonate with a lot of other people. And actually, I think if I was going to summarize probably all of what you've just said there, is stop doubting myself. I think self-doubt is one of our biggest, I was going to say biggest killers. That sounds a bit dramatic, but biggest things that get in our way. I think be more confident in my ideas. So, you know, Nicola, your point around stop saying I think, and actually, no, this is what my idea is, and this is what I believe in. I like what Claire said, celebrate what I can bring to the table rather than what I can't. Claire, it says, if you read my mind, because that's kind of what this session is very much about. And also, you know, this is about backing myself, believing I can do what I set out to do. And I think that those tend to be the themes. It feels like the themes that have come out today, and they tend to be the themes that come out in a lot of the other work I do. And when I look at what does self-doubt, because that's quite a big part of all of this, what does self-doubt actually look like? For me, and I'm sure you probably hear yourself also saying some of these, when you get to kind of the root of some of these other things that you've just described that you talk about, self-doubt often comes about from beliefs, actually. And you often like, I'm not smart enough, or I'm not as good as everyone else. That often is the core, almost root of the starting place of some of these doubting thoughts, some of these things where we don't have confidence in ourselves. So I'm not smart enough and I'm not as good as everyone else. That's so very, very common. And also you get thoughts like, well, what if I fail, or what will everybody think of me? And you know, these are all very common things, and they are kind of at the root. And interestingly, I think we all have this, but what if I fail? What will people think of me? And fail, if you came to my last session, you know how much I hate the word stress. I hate the word fail as much as I hate the word stress. Not because of the kind of, well, you know, you have those cheesy phrases, but what if I fail? Yeah, but what if you fly? You know, that kind of thing. I don't hate it for that respect, although you could tell I'm not really that much of a fan of that. Fail for me is like a very finite word. It's like I either do or I don't. I either give it a go and if I don't do it, then that's it. I failed. There's no opportunity. And I think we have to be very careful of the language we use, because the word fail it really is a really unhelpful word, because there are very few situations in our life where you only get one shot in one time period to do the thing you're trying to do. So fail is fairly an inaccurate kind of description. I don't know if you've come across a lady called Carol Dweck, who talked about growth mindset. And actually she talked about not about failing, but more about I haven't achieved it yet. And that's much more realistic. It's not that we're going to fail. I mean, yes, we worry about making a mistake. Yes, we worry about maybe not getting it right, but it doesn't mean it's not insurmountable when we can't then get it right. But these are some of the things that go through our heads, right? And that social rejection, what will people think of me? One of those, when you hear yourself next saying that, and we'd say it a lot, people will think this about me. People will think I'm stupid. People will think I've messed up. People will think I'm an idiot. People will think, when we say people, I would question yourself and say, actually, who am I talking about there? Because is it maybe just one person who's been quite influential in my life, maybe, and had an opinion about me, usually our parents or siblings or best friends when we were kids. But more often than not, that what will they think of me? We actually mean, what will I think of myself? I'm actually judging myself. So a lot of you have talked about being afraid of being judged by others. Actually, I think we judge ourselves a lot. So if we fail, we think we've made a mistake. That means I think I'm an idiot, not other people. And I think a lot of self-doubt comes from the judgment we put on ourselves. So whenever you say people will think, just check in with yourself. Is it actually what I think? And the reason why I point you to that is because thanks, Sue, what you're saying about the fascinating take on failing. I have a strong belief around that. There's a great growth mindset. Look it up. It's really interesting. Different, and it's not about fooling yourself. It is about just reframing what it is that you're setting out to do. And I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, always check in with yourself. Is it me judging me? And it's no wonder, is what I meant to say, that we do doubt ourselves. Sometimes judge others on them judging me when maybe they aren't. Absolutely, we make assumptions too. It's a great point, Jackie. We do make assumptions in our own minds based on our own judgments of ourselves. I do believe that, and that's what I was going to go and say. The good about that kind of information is that it means we are in control of it. You're not in control of what everybody else thinks. You're not in control of how everybody else behaves. What you are in control of is what you think and what you believe. And actually, if you notice you are judging yourself, there is something you can do with it. And I think we can reprogram the way we think about ourselves. And I'm going to talk a bit about that. But I just wanted to almost give them reassurance, if you haven't had enough already, that lots of people think the things you're thinking, is sort of understanding why we doubt ourselves. There's 3 reasons. I think comes down to the of where we focus. So I think we doubt ourselves because of where we focus. And if you look at even from school days, the focus was on it. You could get all your grades through, and your focus of your parents and your teachers was on all the ones that you didn't do very well in, your C's, your D's, your fails, your whatever, and all of them go there. So we would always focus on, man, I'm really crap at English, or I'm really crap at art, or I'm really crap at this, and I need to get better at that. So from a very early age, we've been taught to focus there. Not to mention at school that there's a ridiculously limited amount of topics and subjects that we're told, you need to know all of these things. Actually, there's loads more things that are out there in life and in our careers. What I do for a living wasn't on the syllabus at school. What a lot of sports people do for a living wasn't on the syllabus at school. If you're a dancer, it's not on the. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a graphic designer, there's so many. But lots of people come out of school feeling like they're stupid, like they failed, like they're not worthy of anything. And I think it's because we focus on our weaknesses there in an attempt to be rounded in a limited set of subjects, which actually, when you look at it, was set up in when we became industrialized nation, and actually was set, and school hasn't really looked at since. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not an expert on it, but the subjects are basically there in an academic way, teaching you to be more academic and go on to do more academic things. It doesn't prepare you for life. So there's so many people. Our childhood is such a massive. It has such an emotionally massive impact on us and our view of ourselves. I think school has a lot to answer for in terms of why we come out feeling and doubting ourselves. So I do think we focus on our weaknesses. You then look at when we go into our careers, and if you have a development conversation with your manager, amazing, but quite often in those development conversations, where do they go? They focus on what you're crap at, not what you're great at. You don't look at, well, you're great at this, how do we explore this more? We don't even talk about necessarily what you're great at. And again, it's very much about pushing you towards becoming rounded. This is all about, you've got to be great at everything. And because this thought is that you've got to be great at everything, you focus on the bits you're not great at. And it's utter, total rubbish, in my opinion. We are not rounded. We are unique individuals with a unique set of strengths, and a unique set of values, a unique set of experiences. And we add value to the world just by being us, but we don't know really who we are, or we haven't really. Absolutely, Amanda. Oh, Amanda, it's lovely to see you. I didn't see you log in. Yeah, David Beckham never practiced left-footed free kicks. Absolutely. So, you know, and I think sport knows a lot about this, but I guess I'm just trying to put the position of, it's no wonder we've ended up how we've ended up. So it's about where we focus. It's also about where we place value. So I do think we underestimate the power of our own strengths, the power of our own abilities, because we're so focused on being rounded, and we're always looking at what everybody else has got. Yeah, but they've got that over there and I haven't got that. They're really great at presenting, or they're really great at the right foot or whatever, you know, and I don't have that. And because a lot of our strengths might come very naturally to us, they're not hard work. And we don't seem to place value on things that come naturally. We place value on things that are hard work. And again, because these things often come easily to us, the things that we love to do, or our strengths, we don't pay attention to them because they're just there, and we don't value them, and we're focusing on everybody else. And the last reason I think how we've ended up, doubting ourselves, is where we spend our time. And I think some people had mentioned this in the chat earlier, that we often spend our time focusing on everybody else's needs, saying yes to everybody else, not saying no. I think in any situation, there's always kind of three sets of needs that are trying to be in balance. You know, there's my needs to be at my best, the other people's needs, whether that's family, friends, work colleagues, bosses, teams, and the needs of the task, the needs of the work that needs to get done. You know, I would question, how much time do you spend on you? How much time do you spend? I call it productive thinking time. How much productive thinking time do you spend on yourself, figuring out who you are, figuring out what you are like at your best, what your strengths are, what's great about you, what's unique about you? And I imagine not much, right? Because we don't. Whether there's this humility there, whether it's because we're so busy, whether it's because we don't feel worthy enough, whatever the reason, we don't spend a lot of time. And I guess my message is, all of these things are in our control. So where we focus, where we place value, and where we spend our time are in our control. So it's not unachievable to kind of turn the tables on this, turn this around in terms of, where we've got to. So just interested, it's 23 minutes past, that's good, I'm doing good for time. Just interested, I mean, I've just chucked lots at you, and a few of you have made some comments. Just, does that resonate? Anyone want to challenge that, or any thoughts on that in the chat? Just anything that's going through your mind as I just chuck loads at you in terms of my reasons around why I think we are where we are. Any thoughts on that or reflections on that? Don't worry if there isn't, just wondered if anyone... I finally actually started saying, I'm pretty great at coaching certain groups. Perhaps it was turning, yeah, maybe, yes. There's a great book, Strengths Finder. Yes, I'm going to talk about strengths, not Strengths Finder, but something called Strengths Scope. Great. Yeah, we do. And to be honest, Leanne, thanks for that. You know, it is a human, it's a very natural human survival instinct to focus on the negative. It absolutely is. We're almost pre-programmed as human beings to focus on what's wrong so we can fix it to enable us to survive. So to some extent, what I'm doing here is asking you to go against nature, but it's quite a natural thing. Oh yeah, sorry about that, Lisa. Now you're worried about choosing secondary schools, but I think it's really important. Yeah, Sue, nice. Yeah, playing to our strengths, Marcus Buckingham. I'm going to talk a bit about that in a second, and I use a tool that's influenced by Marcus Buckingham. Yeah, brilliant. No, thanks for all these comments. That's really helpful. And it's absolutely setting up some stuff around the strengths approach that I want to talk about. How do I be more me? Well, there's a great quote that I wanted to start with, and it's from a guy called, there needs to be more quotes out there that we quote of women. I just realized that. I think we need to do a book of quotes from women, because it's always guys. This is a great quote, right? This is from a guy called Daniel Priestley, who is an entrepreneur, an author, and a speaker, and basically came to the country from, I think, Australia or something, and didn't have any money, and is now a very successful entrepreneur. But I love this sentiment. You are already standing on a mountain of value. Your story is valuable. Your experience is unique. How many times do you sit there and think, right, I haven't got this qualification, I've got this experience, I haven't got this, haven't got this, haven't got this, and you forget about, actually, you've got to where you are, no matter what age you are, and you have got a history of experience. But we kind of just focusing on, what do I do next, getting on to the next thing, how do I keep going, or what am I really crap at, that we just ignore. We don't think about this. So even before I get into my 3 kind of activities to help, one of the best things that you can do, if you haven't already done this, and we often only do it when we're writing our CVs, and sometimes we don't even do it brilliantly then, is think back on your life. Almost, I call this kind of a career lifeline, and think about your highs and your lows in your career. I mean, you can go back as early as childhood if you want, but keeping it simple is sort of in your career, and thinking about, what were my highs, what were my lows, and what did I learn? What was my experiences? What experience, not even just in my career, even in my life. Maybe you've gone through a divorce and you know what that looks like. Maybe you've lived in different countries and you know what that looks like. We have got a wealth of experience in our histories that's brought us to be the person we are today, and actually that experience is valuable to someone out there, and if you're passionate about it, it's even more valuable to them and to you. So I think it's really important to remember you are already full of value, and it's just about spotting it and seeing it and recognizing it. And the exercises I'm going to talk about will help kind of get that. I'm just going to check in with some of the comments, because there's some coming in. I'm not so much better at self-doubt yet, totally are, although men are pretty good at covering it up, to be honest. Mama told me to look at everything I do as an experiment. Love it. Experiments don't always go to plan, but we learn and make changes. This thought really helped. I love that, because that goes to that whole fail thing as well, doesn't it, Lindsay, in terms of, actually, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to experiment with it and see what works and look at it and adjust. And Evelyn, I feel like there's a sort of danger in not trying to be a better version of you, though. That's why we're focused on our weaknesses. Evelyn, thank you so much for saying this, because I do think that's an old school of thinking, and what I mean by that, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to your comment, Evelyn, but I do think that that's how we used to do development, because we're trying to be rounded. If you're focusing on your weaknesses, you're trying to be rounded. If perhaps, you're saying, so 2 points actually. If actually how much, I guess it's not about not looking at your weaknesses, it's about how much attention and addressing the balance of where you focus, because if you're always focusing on your weaknesses, you are going to forget. And you can be a better version of yourself by stretching your strengths, by doing more of your strengths, and enjoying more of what you do. So I think you don't always have to focus on your weaknesses. Now, maybe there's something you really want to do, and you're not strong in it. Maybe you want to write a book and you're not strong in writing. So maybe you might learn how to write, or you might employ someone to learn how to, to write it for you. But I do think there is something about, you don't have to focus on your weaknesses to become a better version of you. I think there's growth in the area of the things that come naturally to you. There's growth in the area of your strengths, and it's about finding that. Now, if you enjoy fixing some of your weaknesses, wicked, go ahead with that. But I absolutely don't think that's the only way to do development. I 100% believe in that kind of, I want to grow. So let me go through my top tips on how to be more me. So number 1 is know what you look like at your best. So how often, this relates to that kind of career lifeline. How often do you ever think about what you look like at your best? Because we don't. We keep going on and on and on and forward. We're on just, yeah, nice, Lauren. I like your comment there. Know what you look like at your best. And what I mean by this is thinking back to a time when you were totally loving what you were doing. Because you know what? Life doesn't have to be crap, right? Life doesn't have to be a struggle. It doesn't have to be hard work, but often feels like that. But actually, if you can check into, so I'd like you to do this now. And I know when you first hear that, what do I look like at my best? You're like, shit, I can't remember. Sorry, excuse my language. I can't remember what I look like. I don't know. But actually give it a go. What were you doing? You know, what was it, there a time when you totally lost track of time, when you were totally in, you know, call it in flow, when you really just, you didn't notice the time go by? What were you doing? Where were you? Were you with loads of people? Were you by yourself? Were you outside? Were you inside? Were you in a sports environment? Were you not in a sports environment? What type of people were you with? Were you with people who were quiet and thoughtful, or people who were really outgoing and gregarious? And you know, I mean, using extremes here, right? But and how were you behaving? Really think about that, and think about, you know, what it really think about actually, what did that feel like? What was I doing? Because if you know what it feels like to be at your best, you can start thinking, you can start unpicking that. What strengths was I using? What was it that I was adding to that situation? You know, who was I being? And we're often not that clear, but if once you get a bit more clear, when I'm at my best, I'm wearing yoga pants, a hoodie, relaxing, engaging, face-to-face, lovely visualization, you know, of actually when I'm at my best, you know, and you can start looking at what I need, smiling, making genuine connections, nice, definite face-to-face. I love this, you know. I mean, I don't know, as you're reading some of this, and even when you're thinking about being at your best, how are you feeling? You know, how does it feel to think about you and your best? And at my best when I'm not burnt out, when I'm doing what I'm doing, who I'm with. You know, actually, I don't know. For me, when I'm reading some of this, I feel like smiling. I feel really happy. I feel like full of energy. And we often lose sight of actually we can feel like that, and we have got times when we feel like that. And so if you can tap into that, and you know what was going into you being at your best, you can then start to recreate that. So there's a little bit about thinking about it, because you puts you in a better place. This links very much to the emotional resilience session I was running before, but also it helps you really think about, because we don't spend time thinking about this stuff. So I think it helps you just get to know yourself a bit better. My second tip, and this is linked very much to some of the things we were talking about again, which is know what your strengths are. So, you know, I said earlier, we're so focused, you know, if I said to you, think about your biggest weakness, I bet in a second in the chat, you could tell me all your biggest weaknesses. Yeah, and it comes to you just like that. If I said to you, what's your biggest strength? Probably doesn't come as easily. And it's not because you haven't got strengths and you're just full of weaknesses, it's because we just don't focus on them. So I think it's really important to know what your strengths are. And and even like I said, from school, we're not taught to look at that. We're not taught to think about where we're strong and what we love to do. And someone mentioned Strengths Finder earlier. I actually use a tool called StrengthScope, which is a really lovely tool. And it's like StrengthsFinder. For those of you who haven't come across either of those, they're basically psychometric tools. They sit in that kind of personality profiling, backed up by science, and backed up by a lot of research. But the strengths approach comes from something called positive psychology. I don't know if you've come across that. It does sound a bit of a fluffy term, but positive psychology is a really robust part of psychology that usually in psychology research, we look at all the things that go wrong with us psychologically as human beings, whether, you know, it's anxiety, depression, stress, you know, OCD, you know, some extreme forms of autism. We look at things that go wrong with us, and the research identifies ways to fix those or help those or support those. But very little research went actually into, well, what about those people who are thriving, fulfilled, enjoying life? Because they are out there, right? They are out there. Those people are out there. And so this whole body of research, positive psychology, looked at those people who, you know, were doing well in life, living meaningful lives, and they researched what were some of the themes, what are some of the things that those people are doing. And there was many different things that came out of that. But one of the things that came out was the people who were happiest in life, the people who were thriving in life, actually understood their natural strengths and played to them in everything they did. And when we talk about strengths, and when I talk about StrengthScope strengths, I'm talking about those things that come naturally to you, those things that I'm half distracted by the chat and I've got to not do that. Those things that energize you, because the whole point here is that life does not have to be hard work. And like I said before, if you're doing stuff that comes naturally to you, it doesn't feel like hard work. You enjoy yourself more. There's a whole load of research again that shows people who focus on their strengths as individuals and as organizations are actually much more resilient, they enjoy their work more, they're much more productive, they're much more engaged in an organization as well, because they're doing what they love and doing what comes naturally to them. So, I just, that's a whistle-stop tour through positive psychology. You're right, Sue, I am just going to shed loads at you. These are some of the strengths that we use in StrengthScope. You basically fill in a questionnaire and it highlights what strengths come out. But I just want you to have a quick look at these strengths that are coming up. What I like about StrengthScope is that it uses real words rather than there's some kind of tools that put you in a category. Well, we're not a category, we're not an I, we're not an E, we're not a colour, we are a unique individual. And I like StrengthScope because it picks up individual strengths. When you look back at that time that you thought about you at your best, it doesn't, you might not be able to find any of the words on here, but are there any words that jump out at you where you think, yeah, when I was at my best, these were some of the strengths I was using? For me, when I'm delivering stuff like this, I'm absolutely using my enthusiasm, that's shining through. I often took that for granted, but when I run sessions, people often comment on, I love your energy, Steph. I love your enthusiasm, Steph. And I've really always taken that for granted until I realized how powerful that is for people when I'm running these sessions, or even when I'm running coaching sessions with people and I'm enthusiastic about them and their life and their strengths and who they are. Sorry, I pressed the wrong thing. So have a think. Empathy, lovely, Emma. So again, empathy, we don't get taught that in school as a really powerful strength, do you? But it's a massive strength to have in almost every area, especially if you want to be a leader or if you want to be a coach. So any other strengths that people, when you're looking at that, any other strengths highlighted for you? What do you notice about yourself? Do any of those resonate? Relationship building and developing others, Lou. Nice. Developing others. Yeah, thanks, Daisy. It's quite nice to put creativity. Great. Relationship building, making a difference. Yeah, absolutely. There might not be a word on there that resonates. Now, what Annie's brought up here is great. She's talking about relationship building and making a difference. And I think it's really also important when, if we go back to this whole self-doubt thing, and what I'm trying to say is we're doubting ourselves because we're not talking about our strengths, we're not focusing on our strengths, we're not thinking about those things. There's also values. So what are our strengths? What are the qualities that come naturally to us? But also, what do we value? How do we live by our values? And I think what Annie was talking about, that making a difference probably would fall under a value. You might have a value in compassion, but you also might have a strength in compassion. I think there's a real link between strengths and values. So in addition to this kind of exercise, would not only just be thinking about your strengths, Lisa, it's easy to think of these strengths of other people I know on this call. Absolutely, it's always easy to think about other people because I suspect, Lisa, you're probably always focusing on other people and maybe not on yourself and maybe not on what your strengths are, so I think that, and that's what I meant about where do you spend your time, where do you spend your focus, and is it on productive thinking time for yourself? Oh, Sue, love it. Enthusiasm, it's a relationship, but empathy, brilliant, love it. We often don't talk about this stuff because we feel a bit like, I haven't really got permission to talk. That's a bit up myself. It's a bit American, isn't it, talking about? But actually, you can have some very grounded, normal conversations about your strengths without being up yourself or out being brash about it. It's almost just, well, I love, Sue's probably thinking, I love being optimistic, I love empathizing with people. Others have talked about relationship, but I love building relationship, I love being empathetic. It's not necessarily always about what you're good at, it's what you love as well. And that combination of knowing your strengths and knowing your values really can put you in a much better frame of mind when you're thinking about them. But also, when problems come up, instead of focusing on all the things you can't do and all the things you haven't got, you can go, well, what strength have I got? Oh, well, I've got an empathy strength. So this is all about people. So I'm really going to be valuable here because I can help everybody understand the people side of things. So just as an example, absolutely thinking about your strengths. And you can go back, like I said, looking at that career or lifeline as you look back in the past and really think about what strengths did I use at the times that were good. But even if you identify the times that weren't so good or maybe low points in your career, what strengths did you use to get out of that time? Or what strengths did you use to navigate that time? There's lots of comments coming through. I'm going to keep going because it's 22. So anything relevant, I will come back to you. Oh, hang on, Lauren's asked a question. What if your strength is something that has barriers, e.g. sexism, that are out of your control? How do you remain resilient? Right, that's a really important question. I'm not going to answer that one here, Lauren, because I think there's a longer answer to that, but I will drop you an email and answer that to you. I think it's a very interesting question. If you haven't seen my last session, check out the resilience session. But cool, thanks for asking it. That's a really important question. How to be more me, number 3. This is a really lovely exercise. And I'm sure when I talk about it, you'll go, oh God, I can't do that. God, that's going to be embarrassing. I'm setting it up well, aren't I? But you will have resistance to doing it. But I wholeheartedly would push you to do it. And maybe as a women's sport collective, you do it with each other and therefore it doesn't feel so scary. But know what others value about you. So as I think Lisa mentioned, I'm better at spotting other people's strengths than my own strengths. That is, tap into that, right? Tap into that. So this is what I would do. I would think about up to 10 people, and it works as well over email. I just do it over email because it means people stop and think more. But if you prefer to chat it through, fine. But I would think of up to 10 people who know you well. Maybe they're people at work, maybe they're family, maybe they're friends, and ask them to list your 3 to 5 qualities they value most in you. What do they value most in you? Next, look through all the feedback and find themes. And then identify what I call 3 to 5 buckets or themes. What this does is it means you're starting to collate all of the feedback that you're getting back, and some themes are coming out, which means then that you can start almost anchoring yourself on some key words around what actually do people value about me? What is it that's unique about me that I bring to this situation that I might have lost sight of? And just to show you what I mean by this, I've got an exercise that talks you through this, which I'm more than happy to send out. It's just a couple of pages on a PDF if you're interested in this exercise. But what you can see here, I've got 2 kind of buckets. And I was getting words back like passionate, determined, enthusiastic, but also things like approachable, transparent, open, doesn't judge. All words I was just delighted to hear, and actually it's just nice getting that feedback. But as I was looking to kind of make it more manageable, I noticed some fitted in the sort of bucket of energy or enthusiasm, but energy, and the other one was about being genuine. And I really hooked on those 2 words, going, yeah, I really believe in those. I do like to be genuine. And hopefully it's coming across when I'm running this session that, I'm not putting on any act. This is just me, this is me. That's why I might drop the old swear word every so often, which I have to be a bit careful about, but this is me, and you'll get the energy. So they're just it is such a lovely exercise to do. It's quite scary to do, but most people love it, and they love giving you this kind of feedback. I'm trying to move my chat over. Yes, please. Yeah, no worries. I can make sure we send that out. There's an addition. What I love, right, is there is an addition to those questions. So it's not just like words. I also, and you'll see this in the handout, I also say, it makes it a bit fun. If there's 2 things. If there's a song that reminds people of you, so what is that song and who's it by, and is there like a cartoon character or a film character that you're reminded of? I know I've got a friend who's like ridiculously resilient, who is constantly, she keeps getting knocked down and she keeps getting back up again. I don't know if you remember that song Tub Thumping by but is it Tub Thumping, or get back up, get back up again, keep getting back. Anyway, it was just adds an extra bit of sort of joy and fun to it. But it's quite, I think someone said I was like Lisa Simpson. I'm not quite sure what that was all about, but I got lots of sunshine. So if you're a visual person, again, you can kind of get this visual, and it makes it just a bit more fun. Yes, Nicola, absolutely would. I'll send you an email about my thoughts on that. I absolutely would do it professionally. Oh, Sue's putting a lovely link in. Oh, Brené Brown, always go and see Brené Brown. She is awesome around this kind of stuff and where we focus. The other thing I just wanted to add to this, so it's not just about knowing what you look like at your best. I mean, that's enough, right? Because we don't do it enough. But also when you figure out what you look like at your best, and those times when you're at your best and you can pinpoint them, the next question to ask yourself is, well, what do I need to be at my best? And I think some of you are starting to say, like, being in my yoga pants or being around certain types of people. But there will be some things that you think about that, okay, so maybe I've lost my confidence. Maybe I'm doubting myself. And it's not me. It's because I'm working in a culture that doesn't resonate with how I operate at my best. So maybe the culture's really slow paced and I operate best fast paced. Or maybe the culture is so fast paced, it's not giving me space to think. And I know I thrive when I have space to think. So these are just some of the, oops, sorry, I've gone too fast. Some of the things that, you know, it's thinking about, what do I need? Was I exercising regularly when I was at my best? Did I feel in control of my time when I was at my best? Was there variety? Was there routine? You know, me personally, I love people, but I don't love to be around people that much. So I know I need, if I do a session like this, I need a bit of time afterwards for a couple of hours just by myself, because that re-energizes me. So it's a bit about really knowing what was going on for you to enable you to be at your best. And it's not always your fault if you're not at your best, right? Because you might just be operating in an environment where you just don't thrive. And I often find this, and we try and fit ourselves into this environment, into this culture, and then make ourselves wrong. I think I was talking to someone about this only last week, that we make ourselves wrong for wanting to do certain things that feel the right thing for us, but just don't fit with the culture. But we tell us we're wrong rather than the culture's wrong, and we try and fix us and change us rather than maybe actually look outwards and go, well, maybe there's something that needs to change there. So there's a bit about knowing what you look like at your best, knowing what you need to be at your best. And I suppose I just wanted to leave you with, again, a bit of hope, positivity, practical stuff, really. That self-doubt actually is just a habit. I'm sorry, I'm really faffing around. I'm trying to move the chat around whilst doing my slides. Self-doubt is just a habit. What I mean by that, I don't know how much you know about what goes on in the brain. And this is very true for some of the stuff we did in the resilience session, for those of you who came to the resilience session. So in the brain, you've got these little circle bits on my little brain diagram here, and they're kind of like the neurons. So you've got cells called neurons in the brain. And whenever you do an action, a behavior, or a thought, a pathway is created between connections of, connects two neurons. So for instance, making a cup of tea, there'll be almost like a pathway for the movements you need to make to make a cup of tea. Similarly with having a thought. So if you're always having a thought when you make a mistake, if your first thought is, I'm such an idiot, why did I do that? I'm always making mistakes. Oh, I'm no good. That will be a path that is created in your brain between these neurons. And the more and more you do it, the thicker that path will get, and the more it will come automatic. So actually, you don't have to think about it anymore. It's almost your automatic reaction as soon as a mistake happens, or as soon as somebody challenges you, or as soon as, anything, that then you automatically will go, I'm an idiot, I'm crap, I haven't got this, and it will happen automatically. The really good news is because this is in your control. And actually, if you then think, no, do you know what? I want to have a different reaction to when I make a mistake. I want to start thinking, do you know what? I haven't failed there. I've just made a mistake, and I've got this strength here that can help me get out of this. I know I've got a great strength here. I know this will be I've got great relationship building strength. And actually, I've probably got a great relationship with this person I've made a mistake with. I'm just going to go and use my relationship building strength to help them. If you want that kind of reaction, you're going to start creating a new pathway. And it does take focus, it takes energy, and it takes practice. But the more you teach yourself to have that reaction and have that thought process, the thicker that connection will get. And interestingly, as you see, the red line disappeared there because you've reprogrammed a new connection and the old one's gone away. And that's what I mean about habits, right? So when we're trying to quit smoking, all those usual sort of habits, you can also change the habits in how you think and how you react. So it might feel like hard work at the moment to change from being weakness focused to being strength focused, but it is possible. And it's possible from reprogramming your brain into new habits and new ways of being. And I do think that's kind of like the kind of core of overcoming this sort of self-doubt and being more you and valuing more of who you are. If you can start to create the habit of valuing who you are, using all these kind of different, but it does take time, energy, and focus. And if your focus is always on other people, always on getting stuff done, not on yourself, then it's never going to happen. So it's really important that you find ways to focus more on you as much as possible in our busy lives. And I suppose I do have kind of I'm so delighted it's 10:02, I've got time for questions and everything. I kind of have some parting thoughts on this. I've got to change that parting because I keep thinking it rhymes with something else, and I want to say that. And I've got to stop. I've just got to stop that, and I've got to stop talking what's in my head. Right. Backing your. Oh, I've got both up now. I've gone all wobbly now. So backing yourself is a skill that can be developed. I think this is really, really important. We often think you're either confident or you're not. You back yourself or you're not. Or I've got this self-doubt and I'm always going to be this. I'm always going to be this way. I'm never going to change. It's rubbish. Backing yourself is a skill and it can be developed. And secondly, shifting your focus to what's great about you will build self-belief. It feels really simple. It feels almost a little bit fluffy and a bit crass, but it absolutely is true. If you really focus on your strengths, give yourself permission to focus on what's great about you, it will begin to build your self-belief. And as I was saying, self-doubt is a habit which can be broken and replaced with a new habit of self-belief. I think that was all of my parting thoughts. That's kind of what hopefully, again, I feel like I raced through a lot of this. I hope that's given you some food for thought. You've all been brilliant, actually. There's some really good challenges there. There's some really, really great insights. We do have time for some questions, actually, or even reflections. So I'm up for people challenging anything I've said. I'm up for people just exploring that. So any reflections on some of the stuff I've said, any questions? My pen has run out from all my notes. Lisa, I love you. Can you come to all my sessions? That's brilliant. I'm really glad that's helpful. I will send out that exercise, that kind of what values. I mean, how do you feel about some of those exercises I've talked about as well? Do they feel like ones that you can do? Tell me about some of the things you're thinking about as we're coming to the end of this session.
We want to come off of we can come on to the screen, and then if people want to put their hands up, or they can talk as well too.
Talk as well. We can actually talk rather than type if someone's more comfortable talking. Any questions?
There's silence now. I've said that. Now I made us see.
It's all scary now. See. I'm just going to read in Lucy's comment. Balance of strengths is a challenge sometimes. I sometimes feel like I give all my strengths in a day and then need to re-energize, so family possibly do not get the best version of me. Definitely know I need to balance this with space in the day so I can ensure I'm present in the evenings. Thanks, Beth. I'll come to yours in a sec as well. So what I would say there, Lucy, is balance of strengths is a challenge sometimes. I feel I give all my strengths. So what I would say is, really look at what you do in the day, and this is relevant to everybody actually. So when I talked about strengths are defined as things that come naturally to us or that give us energy. What I didn't say is we don't define them as things that you're good at. It's not about what you're good at. You're likely to be good at the things that come naturally to you, but equally we also can get quite good at things that don't come naturally to us and we absolutely hate. For instance, I'm really good at detail. I'm very good at detail, but I find doing anything in detail really, really drains me. It came down really low on my strength scope report. And so to what you were saying, Lucy, I would look at your day and go and actually think about, was it all my strengths and I've just given all my strengths out so I've got nothing left for my family? Because actually what I think is you're doing a lot of stuff at work. Some of it drains you, some of it energizes you. But if you're going home to your family and you're knackered, I would hazard a guess that it's not just your capacity that's being stretched. Maybe it is also what type of work are you doing? Are you doing stuff that drains you and that doesn't come naturally to you? Because there's a bigger picture here around, in my job, is it in my control to change what I do so that I can use more of my strengths so that it doesn't drain me? Or do I need to rethink about the job I'm doing? Because maybe there's more stuff here that I'm good at, but you know what? I don't really love. It doesn't really come naturally to me. So I'd say if you're finding you're spent at the end of the day, it could have something to do with whether you're, I'd do a sort of audit on your day. Did I love doing that? Or did I not love doing that? Did that feel like the hard work, or did that feel quite easy? And you can kind of bit of an audit around that. Who else? Beth said so. Really helpful very much for myself, but also live report. Yeah, great. And the idea of the exercise, asking people for feedback. Yeah. Okay, I'm comfortable asking 10 people for their thoughts.
Can I just jump in there? Because I was actually thinking, Kurt, it's quite interesting when you were talking about that. I was thinking whether it's something we could do as a collective, almost, not to ask other people in the collective, but if it was done from the collective, like I'm part of the Women's Sport Collective and we're doing this project that involves going out and asking 10 people, is it easier than saying I'm doing it because I want to know what people think of me? Anyway, we can talk about that separately.
it's funny that we feel we have to have a reason other than I'm doing a bit of work on myself and I want to find out what people think. Isn't that odd that we feel like we need a reason? When I'll make available this document, you've asked any suggestion on how to set up asking that question. I think Sue's right. Maybe it's part of the Women's Collective. Maybe I've just been to a webinar. It's got me thinking, I don't really know what my strengths are and I need some help from my friends and colleagues. So, it could be like that. I think, sorry, and I say I agree with Claire. Yeah, so we can have a thing about it, but I do think there's something about, like Sue said, maybe part of the Women's Collective, if you need an excuse or a reason. And I think you'll soon find there probably are, don't start with 10 if that's a bit scary, start with 3 or 4 and just see what you come back.
Can I just reflect on something that I think it's interesting, isn't it? Those strengths that come naturally and give us energy, because I think sometimes it's that male, female, and that's why I put that Brene Brown post in there about imposter syndrome, and that a lot of it is us sometimes trying to put ourselves to be, and I know I've had that, I haven't got the right gravitas, I'm not dominant enough, I'm not whatever, and therefore I feel I'm not good at something, but actually the strengths I do have in terms of ability to talk and engage, and but I don't almost see that as proper grown up. We're having some therapy here in front of all these people, aren't we?
Yeah.
But I almost haven't valued those historically in the same way. And so sometimes I'm not going for board roles, I'm not going for positions because I don't feel I've got what's typically seen as work skills. But actually, I love that chart. It's like, oh, I'm a bit of that and that and that. But they almost feel like they're softer, more typically conventionally feminine skills, but actually they're really important.
Really important, and that's what I mean about where we place value, and it comes back from where we went to school, where no one said that having empathy is a great life skill. No one has said having creativity is a great life skill, or whatever. So I do. It's a great point. Thanks, Sue, for sharing that, because I do think that we that is the key thing. It's not just knowing what your strengths are; it's valuing them and knowing they add value. And there's a great lady in sport who won't name, not necessarily fair to, but she was around board members who are all men, and really she comes across really confident, but a bit like you, Sue, has relationship building, developing others, empathy, some of those, I hate the fact that we call them softer skills, right? They are just people skills. They're people, they're emotion skills, they're relationship building skills. Life's all about relationship. But she was around these people who were traditionally very thinking, very academic. I've had clients like that, and they just stopped valuing that people skills stuff that they have. And it's not necessarily all women that have it and men don't, but there is that culture where we don't value. So I think there is something about that's why it's great to ask men and women, what do you value about me? What qualities do you value? And you'll start realizing, people, like I said, my energy comes naturally. I'm like, it's, it's just there, but people value that. Yeah. So thanks for bringing that up, Sue. Good. Any other last questions or reflections? Because we've got a few minutes. This is so unusual for me. I'm normally like, oh my God, I've just read through it. No time for questions. I will go back through the chat as well. But if there isn't, thanks everyone for coming in and your contributions. I hope this has been useful. I've heard them being referred to as power skills rather than soft skills. Love that. They're just skills, it's just strengths. It's just things. Power skills, I like that. It's like superpowers. What's your superpower? But it is great to do tools like StrengthsScope or StrengthsFinder or any of those things that help. They're set up robust research behind them that helps you go, right, well, it's on paper now. This is what my strengths are. And actually, there's another great exercise you can do if we're talking about valuing strengths, and she's chucking lots at you now, is once you kind of clear what 2 or 3 of your strengths are, doing I talk about habits and breaking habits, doing a daily diary or even just a daily check-in with one of your mates, that where you go, well, I used this strength, and this strength today, and this is how it added value. So, I used my empathy strength today, and this is how I added value, or I used my creativity strength today, and this is how I added value. So, you're then changing your focus again, and that habit around where you're focusing. If you do it daily, and only has to be a quick diary, I call it like a strengths diary. What strength did I use today, and how did that add value? It's almost like a bit like a micro version of It's a Wonderful Life. It's like, how did I add value today just by being me? What wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have been there? So
Lovely. Thank you. I'm going to wrap up and thank you again for your second session, the bit you did too. We really appreciate your giving your time for free. It's so kind. And we'll send out a recording of this session, and we'll also share some of the links that you have given us in the past and the slides and so on, so people can follow up as well. But yeah, really appreciate your time, Steph. All the lovely thanks coming through there. And hopefully we'll see more of you in the future, and other people on future calls too. So thanks to everybody for giving an hour coming along. I know we're all getting busier and busier, but really appreciate we had so many on today. That's fantastic. And we'll see you in LinkedIn or in person.
Sorry, can I just jump in quickly? I'm just reading some of the comments. Absolutely, please email me, steph@stephtranter.com. And what I meant to say is email me, steph@stephtranter.com, if you're interested in doing a follow-up session. So I did a smaller session for some people who attended the resilience. So if there's something that's triggered in you, you thought, actually, I'd really like to focus a bit more on that, I'm happy to do another hour, maybe 4, 5, 6 people, if you want to do that. So email me or email Sue and Kate if you don't remember my email address. More than happy to do it. Oh, thanks, Sue. Perfect. I'm more than happy to do a follow-up session. But equally, it's quite a personal topic, isn't it? So if there's questions you want to ask that you didn't want to ask in front of the group, just chuck them my way. Very happy to talk to anybody.
I feel I've had my personal session today already, so thank you for that. Good. Lovely. Thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you at the next session.
Cool. See you, everyone.
Brilliant. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Jenny.
That's lovely, isn't it?